7th graders, welcome to Chapter 3, Lesson 3. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to subtract integers. We just talked about how to add integers, now we're going to talk about how to subtract them. So our objective today is to subtract integers, and I know that you guys can do this. Standards are right there. Make sure you copy those down. Let's go ahead and look at our rules for subtracting integers. For a key concept today of subtracting integers, here's what we do. To subtract integers, all we really do is change subtraction to addition. So to subtract integers, we're going to add its inverse. Inverse means the opposite of what we see. So if I have a number minus another number, I'm going to change that to that first number plus the opposite of the second number. So an example of how that works is if I said 4 minus 9, I could change 4 minus 9 to 4 plus negative 9. And once it's addition, I can just follow the rules that we just established in the previous lesson. The 9 is bigger than the 4, so 9 minus 4 is 5, and then keep the sign of the bigger number. Since this is bigger, it's a negative 5, because I'm going to have more negatives. Same thing happens whenever we have double negatives. It would be 7 minus negative 10. So what we do is we make it 7 plus positive 10. So we change subtraction to addition, and we change the sign of the number behind the subtraction sign. Change the sign, change the number behind the sign. 7 plus 10 is 17. So we're going to practice this in this lesson. Our goal is to change subtraction to addition by adding its inverse. Inverse means the opposite of what we see. So we're going to change subtraction to addition, and then we're going to change the number behind to the opposite, whatever it is. So if it's a positive, we're going to make it negative, and if it's a negative, we're going to make it positive. Let's go ahead and see our first example. In our first example, we're going to find the answer to 8 minus 13. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the rule. The first thing we do is we write our first number, 8. We change subtraction to addition, and now we're going to change the sign of this number. Since that's 13, we're going to make it negative 13. So really, this problem is a positive 8 plus negative 13. So I'm going to show you what that looks like using counters. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positives. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 negatives. So I'm using green for positive and red for negative. And so what we need to do is we need to say, what are we going to have left? What do we have more of? Because a positive and a negative cancel each other out. What we have left is we have this right here. Well, that's 5 negatives. So 8 plus negative 13 should be negative 5. So if you're doing the color counter method, this is a way that you can see how it looks. What we do is we cancel out units. As long as there's a positive and negative, they cancel out. Because if I have one, I take one away, now I'm left. So this is what we have left after we put these together. Because when we add, we put two things together. So when doing this, another thing we could have done is we could have took 13, since there's more of those, subtract 8, 13 minus 8 is 5, and the 13 was negative, so negative 5 is what we have as our answer. So that's taking the absolute values and then doing subtraction with it. So what we're doing is we're changing subtraction to addition. We change the sign behind the number. Let's go ahead and do another example. In example 2, we're going to find 2 minus 15. So we're going to follow our rule. Change subtraction to addition and change the opposite of the inverse of what we see at the end. So we start with 2, and we're going to change the subtraction sign to addition. And then this 15 is going to change. Instead of it being just 15, it's now going to be negative 15. So 2 minus 15 is the same as 2 plus negative 15. And now we're going to follow our rules of addition. Now this time, I'm not going to do the color counter method first. I'm going to do it second just to check. So I have more negatives than I do positives. So I'm going to start with the 15, subtract the 2, and I'm going to have 13 negatives left. So that's doing that method. Now I can do it this way too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. and I'm going to put that together with two positives. So the negative and the positive cancel each other out, which means that my answer are all these negatives here, which end up being 13 negatives. So we can still do the color counter method, or we can just do subtraction. We say, which one do we have more of? We take that number minus the other number, and we'll figure out what's left. All right. In example 3, we're going to find negative 10 minus 7. So we're going to do the same method. We start with negative 10. We're going to change subtraction to addition, and then we're going to add the number at the end. So this is negative 10 plus negative 7. And I know that whenever I add two numbers that have the same sign, all I do is add them because it's going to become bigger of whatever type of number that is. So if I add two negatives, it's a bigger negative. If I add two positives, it's a bigger positive. So a negative 10 plus negative 7 is negative 17. Now, if you want to, you can draw the color counters. I'm just not going to draw the color counters for this one. That's our answer to this problem. In example 4, we're going to find negative 13 minus 8. We're going to use the rules of subtraction. Doing subtraction, change subtraction to addition, and change the other number behind the subtraction sign to its inverse. Inverse means the opposite. So, negative 13, change subtraction to addition, and then this 8 is going to change to a negative 8. So this is negative 13 plus negative 8. So we have two numbers with the same sign, so we go ahead and add those together, but we keep the sign the same. So 13 plus 8 is negative 21, and that's my answer to this problem. Let's keep moving. In example 5, we're going to be finding 1 minus negative 2. So same rule still applies because we have subtraction. Whenever we have subtraction, change it to addition. So 1 plus, that's negative 2. We're going to change it to positive 2. So 1 plus 2, that's 3, and 3 is my answer. And that's what we get for this problem. That's simple. All right, 12 minus negative 6. Why don't you go ahead and try this problem on your own. Pause the video, see if you can do this. We've just done 5 examples of how to do this. So pause the video, try this problem. I'm going to go ahead and solve this problem. So hit play. Let's see what we get. 12, change subtraction to addition, and instead of that being a negative 6, we're going to make it a positive 6. So 12 plus 6 is 18. That's my answer, 18. In example 7, we're going to find negative 10 minus negative 7. So we start with negative 10, change the minus to plus, and instead of that being the negative 7, we're going to make that just 7. So it's negative 10 plus 7. And so I know that I have more negatives than I do positives, so I'm going to start with the 10. 10 minus 7. 10 minus 7 is 3, so I have 3 more negatives than I do positives. That's my answer to this problem here. All right, in example 8, you're going to be finding negative 21 minus negative 8. Do the same rule. Go ahead and try this problem. Knock it out. Play the video when you want to see the answer. Negative 21, change subtraction to addition. Instead of that minus 8, we're going to add 8. So this is negative 21 plus 8. Well, I have more negatives than I do positives. So I'm going to take 21 and subtract 8. And so I can't take 1 minus 8, so I'm going to borrow from the 2. That's going to change to 1. This is going to change to 11. 11 minus 8 is 3. And drop the 1 down. So 21 minus 8 is 13. So I have 13 more negatives than I do positives because negatives was bigger than positives in this case. Alright, so we're going to do 2 more examples and then we're done with this lesson already. So in example 9, we're going to evaluate, which the word evaluate means solve. We're going to solve x minus y. But we don't know what x is and we don't know what y is until we look over here. Here they tell us that x is negative 6 and y is negative 5. So what we need to do is we need to take this that's given to us and we need to rewrite it. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite exactly what we see, but now wherever we see the x, we're going to put negative 6. Wherever we see the y, we're going to put negative 5. So the x is going to be negative 6 minus the y, that's negative 5. So they want us to actually solve this problem, -6 minus -5. So now we're going to use the rule. Well, we have -6. We change subtraction to addition. And that is -5, so we're going to make that a +5. So this problem is really a -6 plus 5. Well, we have more negatives than we do positives. So we take 6 minus 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. And since we have more negatives, that's -1 is our answer. That's our answer to this problem. We just solved it. We're going to do one more problem, and you guys are already done. For our final example, we're going to be solving another problem that deals with variables, x and y. But now, x and y have different values. So we're going to plug those values in just like we did in the previous one. I really encourage you that if you feel like you can do this on your own, go ahead and knock this out. So, first thing I'm going to do is change x to -2 minus y, that's -7, so -7. So this problem really is -2 minus -7. Now, we're going to use our rule of subtraction. -2, change subtraction to addition, and then change the sign behind the number. So, if that's a -7, we're going to make it +7. This problem is really -2 plus 7. So I have more positives than I do negatives, so I'm going to say 7 minus 2, and 7 minus 2 is 5, and that's a +5, so that's my answer. Alright, hopefully you guys are understanding that whenever working with subtraction, you want to change subtraction to addition. And if you change subtraction to addition, you have to change the sign of the number behind that sign. So the number at the end changes, only in subtraction. So when you change subtraction to addition, change the sign, change the number. That's it for today's lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you tomorrow.